A superstar getting investigated for making more than Meryl Streep. Flirtatious toucans raising suspicions at a zoo. And free COVID medicine for all. But they're for dogs or horses, and they don't cure COVID at all. Yeah, so many questions. The first one being, what in the world? Chinese actress Zheng Shuang proved that love and money really don't mix when her ex-boyfriend leaked details on her unusual salary on one show she shot back in 2019, which according to the text amounted to a staggering $25 million. For comparison, that's more than Meryl Streep makes in a year.
Did she have more?
4.
Oh, well, okay.
This sparked outrage, especially since the Chinese government has been hot on their heels on the excessive pay and tax evasion in the entertainment industry, with more and more citizens complaining of widening wealth gaps. The ex-boyfriend claims she signed what was called a yin and yang contract, which is known to be used by entertainment stars to underreport their income and evade taxes under the guise of an investment agreement. With situations like this being speculated to be rampant, it's no surprise how the number of the mega-rich in Chinese society are growing, while opportunities for social mobility for the younger generations are dwindling. Urban workers in China are struggling with what is known as the 996, referring to their usual work hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. each day, 6 days a week, with a per capita disposable income equivalent to $5,000. This means they'd have to work like this for a minimum of 5,600 years straight to earn $28 million, while in contrast, Shuang reportedly earned hers in just 77 days. Shuang has been fully cooperating with the police as she is currently under investigation for her alleged crimes, which is essentially being too rich. Not exactly a problem many of us share. Meet Toto and Poco. They're two adorable toucans in a couple. But just like disapproving parents, their zookeepers just weren't happy about it. The problem isn't because they were too young or that things were happening too fast. The problem is that things weren't happening fast enough. In their 5-year relationship, they've been constantly showing signs of courtship, or in human terms, flirtation. But they still haven't bred. Thankfully, the frustrated zookeepers didn't do anything drastic to force this out of them. Last 2016, an Edinburgh zoo was slammed for having forced panda bear Tian Tian to reproduce by inseminating her multiple times over 4 years using a male panda sperm, opening up discourse on forced animal breeding. In this case, mating was encouraged by building better nests and changing their diets. But apparently their efforts were futile as the zookeepers recently discovered through a DNA test that they were actually in a same-sex relationship. Bear! Those zookeepers are talking about me impregnating you again. Again? Man, should we hit them with the DNA test? At first, they assumed that Toto, the bigger toucan, was a male and that Poco was a female. They found out that both were actually females. This behavior among birds isn't anything new and has been documented in over 130 bird species. As supported in biologist Jeff McFarland's research, which states that birds may engage in homosexual behavior just because they can. Personally, I'd like to think that they just care about each other. You know, nothing wrong with that. If that sounds romantic, you should hear how these two lovebirds, technically toucans, give each other food and follow each other around all day. Aw, you go Toto and Poco. Keep being beacons of love. Haha. No? Alright. Remember when Donald Trump said that injecting bleach could cure COVID?
Disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection?
Imagine if he put up a booth where people could actually do it for free. 2 lawmakers in the Philippines made that too ridiculous to be true idea into reality by setting up ivermectin pantries in Quezon City, where they give away free medicine they claim can cure COVID, but is actually a pill for treating parasites in dogs and horses. They actually have doctors stationed at these pantries to give away prescriptions, but the catch is they don't sign them. Yep, prescriptions without signatures. Seems legit. Ivermectin has found some advocates in a lot of people, including some among the medical circle, claiming its effectiveness against COVID. The pill is also currently undergoing clinical trials in the country, and even Oxford University has stepped in. However, while there are human-grade versions of ivermectin, they are not available in the Philippines, and their effectiveness against COVID is still yet to be proven by proper science.
Currently, we haven't made a recommendation on the use of ivermectin.
The makers of the pill have also publicly announced that their medicine does not work in that regard. It all sounds too dodgy to believe, but in a country still riddled with the disease, it's hard to pin the blame on people who are desperate for a cure. Public service announcement to all politicians. Maybe don't give away horse medicine to people. Migrant workers in Dubai have been turning to TikTok to shed lights on their working conditions. And it's working.
You see this, we want this, we need this, we love this.
Garnering hundreds and thousands of views, people are paying attention to what they have to share.
Hi, my name is Shaswati Siva. I'm from Bombay, India, and I'm a writer. During this pandemic, and particularly during the second wave of COVID, I had tweeted out asking for some resources for my aunt who was very sick, and I had put my number out in public, and what I got in return were dick pics and really, really abusive calls. So what actually happened was that first we were looking for ventilators, and then we were looking for plasma, that we needed to get from blood banks. And they were all very, very time sensitive because, the doctors just give us the requirement and then we have less than a day to actually procure it and then get it to the hospital. And a lot of logistics were involved. So what actually happened was I put the request out on Twitter like everybody else was doing, because Twitter literally became like the hotline for all COVID emergencies. And that's what had happened. A couple of my friends stepped in and they had reached out to a few really popular people on Instagram and Twitter and requested them to kind of push that request forward so I would get more leads. And when that happened, my number also went in those circles. So then I started getting calls saying, oh, you look so hot and are you available for tonight and things like that. And I think the most important thing for me was that I was getting calls. I was getting a lot of genuine leads as well. I was getting genuine help for what I actually needed for the medical emergency. And at that point of time, I did not know which call I was attending. And I think that was the worst dilemma for me, because I would pick up and it just gave me so much anxiety to know, is the next thing a man who's going to treat me like absolute crap, or is it actually a person who's out there to help me with, something medical related. I wrote about my story and I actually started speaking about it. I realized a lot more women wrote to me, and ever since that I've been seeing a lot more people writing about this. I see a lot more people putting it out there that, this happened with me also. And, that's really, really sad that all of us have to go through this. And after this happened with me, I put my father's number out there and nothing happened. Because that, you see the name next to it and it's a male's name and nothing happens.
Things that legislators wield: the ability to write laws, the power to enact change, and swords. Hella swords. Wait, what? Taiwan's youngest lawmaker, Lai Pin-yu, shocked the nation when she fused her activism with her love of anime, and she cosplayed her way into this position. Clarissa Wei, who wrote this story for Vice, tells us more. So right off the bat, I want to ask you, so what is her story? Like, for someone who is not familiar with her and her works.
So Lai Ping-yu is a freshman legislator in Taiwan, and she's known in international media as the cosplay legislator, but she obviously does not show up to work in cosplay. It's just a side hobby of her that she really latched onto during her campaign in earlier last year.
So why is her story important?
Because she's I think she is the youngest legislator in Taiwan. And it really resonates with young people around the world because people see themselves in her. She was one of the people, I think there's videos of her being chained up and yelling and protesting. And now she's in office. She's come full circle from someone who is protesting against the government to someone who is now in government.
So what drew you to this story?
Her being an uncanny politician. Most politicians around the world are a bit dry. They know how to talk, but this woman, she has this quirk about her, which is cosplay. And she's not, shy to dress up in front of camera and talk about both her interests as a politician and as a cosplayer. Like, what other country can you find? What other place in the world where you can find a politician who also dresses up in cosplay in their spare time?
Did she have any reservations about the interview?
No, Lai Ping is pretty open. The only thing that she was hesitant about is we wanted to get her in cosplay sitting in front of her desk, like the desk in where she works at. And she was really uncomfortable with that. And we respected that because she said, cosplay is one thing, my job is another thing. Even though she's open about her cosplay as a hobby, she is not a legislator who works in cosplay. So that was something she was uncomfortable with, and understandably so. And we definitely respected that.
So my next question, like going into more of her politics, what are some of the things that she wishes to achieve as a lawmaker?
Really for her right now, it's like gender equality laws and just getting better transportation for her district. So that's a thing that I sort of realized too when I was doing this story, like when she was campaigning, it's these like lofty, cool slogans and you see her as a really cool legislator. But in the nitty gritty, day-to-day things, she's really just fighting for her district. So I don't think she has the power to campaign or work for things that are bigger than her right now. But I definitely think she's a rising power in the party right now.